Greetings, everybody. My name is Father Kyle Rink, and welcome to Fridays with Father. We're bringing this back after a few months of not doing it, and we're actually bringing it to the parish family. This is something that St. Joe's has done for a little while, and now we get to share with everybody. So excited to have you with us as we dive into different topics. Fridays with Father is just a great opportunity for the priest to kind of share just something deeper about spirituality, or maybe just about what kind of coffee they like, whatever. You're going to hear all about all that with Fridays with Father. We hope to do this about once per month, at least for now, and maybe more in the future as well. Today I want to talk about a couple really great saints in my mind, people that aren't quite saints yet, but they will be this summer. The first one is Blessed Pier Giorgio Frassati. So he's one of my personal patron saints. As you know, I'm a big outdoorsman, but moreover, what Frassati really did for me was to show me that it's part of becoming a saint, part of being deep into your faith, is striving for excellence, trying to do things really well for the Lord. And here's what this looks like. You know, Frassati was born in the year 1901, right? Kind of at a tumultuous time in Italy. He was born to really wealthy Italian parents that didn't really like church a whole lot, so he wasn't raised going to church. And yet, somehow during his education, he got exposed to some Jesuits, and they really instilled a great love for God in his heart. Eventually, Frassati would become the kind of guy who would sneak out of his parents' house in early hours of the morning to go to adoration and mass, and then sneak back in so his parents didn't realize he was going to church. And this is the kind of guy he was. But more than that, he had a great, generous heart. Even when he was younger, when he was about 5 years old or 4 years old, there's a story that there was a knock at the Frassati household door, and their housekeeper opened it. And it was a really poor mother with a young daughter with no shoes on, and she was begging for food and begging for anything that the family could give. And the housekeeper was about ready to shut the door in their face. But before she could, Frassati stuck his little shoes, took his shoes off and stuck them in the door and said, "Here, take these. You don't have any shoes. Take my shoes instead." So this is kind of the heart of this young Frassati. Well, part of what he did, you know, his life motto was verso l'alto, which is Italian for strive for the heights, or to the heights. His whole motto was all about striving for excellence, trying to be the best that he could. He did this in school, even though he was not a very good student, and he'd be the first to admit, and his grades actually reflect that. But he spent hours and hours poring over his studies, trying to make sure that he could do the best he could, so that he could serve people well when he finally graduated. When it came to outdoors activities, he was a really excellent skier and a really excellent mountain climber. And so he'd often take his group of friends. He called his closest friend group the Tipi Loshi Society, which loosely translates to those who are up to no good. So kind of a funny guy. But him and these friends, he would say, "Hey, let's go climb this really tall mountain in Italy." And they would go and do it. And his friends would be complaining how hard it was. But Frassati would be kind of that energy behind the whole thing, encouraging his friends along the way. And you know, he was never in the front of the pack. Even though he was probably the best mountain climber amongst them, he was always in the back, because he was always carrying the packs of those who were too weak or too slow, always encouraging them and making jokes with them along the way. So that's kind of the heart of this young man. He died at age 24. He contracted tuberculosis when he was serving some homeless people, and he contracted that and passed away from it. But even to his last days, the very last thing we have recorded of his writing was him writing a prescription for the person that probably led him to get that disease in the first place, asking for medication for them. So it's a gentleman who just, to the very last days of his life, strove for excellence, and I just had a heart of gold, a heart of charity. And so he's someone that makes a huge kind of inspiration to my life, and I think to a lot of young people, which is why this summer, Pope Francis has announced his beatification. So Blessed Pier Giorgio is now going to become Saint Pier Giorgio Frassati. After, for me, it's been about a decade in the making. To become a canonized saint, by the way, you have to have proof of a holy life and 2 verified miracles. Frassati had one for many years. Now he finally got the second one. The Vatican has approved it, and he is going forward with canonization. That'll happen this summer between July 28th and August 3rd in the Rome, when they do their synod on synodality. I'm sorry, when they do the Jubilee for young adults. So this summer is the Jubilee for young adults, and that's the time that he'll be canonized. So that's the first of our great saints. The second one, his name is Carlo Acutis. He's a much newer saint. Carlo Acutis was born in 1991. Yeah, 1991. So if he was still alive today, he would only be in his mid-30s. He died in 2006 from leukemia, and in his short life, he just 15 years of his life, he was again a young Italian guy who was very into computer games, loved computers, and in fact, one of his big inspirations was Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. And he said when Steve Jobs said, "Time is limited, don't waste it," he took that very seriously. But he was, of course, also very devout in his faith. And so young Carlo Acutis wanted to spend his life in the best, like he wanted to milk every little ounce of juice out of his life. So as he was a big fan of computer games, he decided, well, I want to make a website that compiles all the different Eucharistic miracles. And this website still exists. You can go and check it out. And so he put all this work into doing that to prove and to show his reverence and love for Christ and the Eucharist. But he was a very temperate guy, and I think one of the things that Carlo Acutis gives us, an example for young people, is that he loved computer games, but he realized that they were taking him away from doing actual good works. So he would limit himself to 30 minutes a day of computer games, even though he loved to do that with his friends. He limited himself and really held fast to that 30 minutes, so that the rest of his time could be used for serving God and serving his brothers and sisters. Part of it being making that awesome website. Again, he died in 2006 from leukemia, and his canonization cause quickly kind of moved forward. And it's kind of cool. You can look at his tomb, and he was buried and dressed in Adidas sports clothes. So there's kind of cool, just modern things. Carlo Acutis will also be canonized during this Jubilee year. It'll be on April 27th, so a little before Frassati. But I don't think Frassati will mind that. So we'll have pretty soon Saint Carlo Acutis and Saint Pier Giorgio Frassati, which is really cool. So thanks for tuning in for this Fridays with Father, this first of many. Hope to see you next month, and until then, God bless.